Hello and welcome. In this lecture, I'll be explaining some PHP data types. Variables can store data in different types, and also different types of data can do different things based on their data types. So let's take a look at the basic data types that PHP supports. So this is a table showing you some common PHP data types. So I'm just going to run through them briefly. I'll start with the first one, which is a string. A string data type is basically a sequence of characters. For example, hello world. A string can be any text, but must be placed inside quotes. So you can use either single quotes or double quotes, but you cannot mix them. You can't start with a double quote here and end with a single quote there. So you must maintain the quote. If you're using single, stick to single quotes. If you're using double, stick to double quotes. The second data type is the integer. An integer data type basically is a non-decimal number. Okay, and these are examples. So it could, the rules for an integer basically is that an integer must have at least one digit. An integer must not have a decimal point, so an integer should be a whole number. An integer can either be positive or negative. All right, and integers can be specified in three formats. So you have the decimal, which is 10 base, hexadecimal 16 base, or prefixed with OX or octal base. The key thing to note here is that integers can be positive or negative and must have at least one digit. Next, we've got the float. The float basically refers to a floating point number, which is a number with a decimal point or a number in exponential form. All right, so a number that's got decimals referred to as floating point. I've got an example here, 10.7. Next, we've got the Boolean data type. Boolean basically represents two possible states, either a true or a false. So Boolean values are either true or false. Next, we've got the array. An array basically is used to store multiple values in one single variable. A variable stores one value, but an array can store multiple values as one variable. As you can see in this example here, I've got a declared an array here called cars. Okay, and you notice it's stored two. We've got two values inside that array. You can have as many as possible, but they'll all come under this variable here called cars. Next, we've got an object. An object basically is a data type which stores data and information on how to process that data. In PHP, an object must be explicitly declared. All right, so what you need to do first, you declare a class of the object and using the class keyword, and after that after you create the class has to be declared, then you create the object. So I'll be showing you an example of how to do that later. Next, we've got the null. Null basically represents variables that have no assigned value. All right, so it's a special data type, and you can also use the null. If you assign a null value to a variable, you can use that to empty the value for that variable. Okay, say for example you assigned a variable, say this variable x was given a number 7. Later on, if I want to clear that, I can assign it a null, and that will empty the variable of the previous value. So that's it for this lecture. In the next lecture, I'm going to illustrate some basic examples of these various data types that I have mentioned in this lecture. Thank you so much for watching and have a lovely day. Bye for now.